Hi, this is Tim, and this recording will cover the Assessment Coordinators meeting from February 11th, 2020. So I'm going to get started and share my screen with you. We're going to take a look at the PowerPoint that we were using. And so typically one of the purposes that we meet with each other is so that we can share information from each other's experience. Today, we're going to just briefly review the calendar for the rest of the year. We're going to take a look at Wisconsin Forward. This is especially important for those of you who have not had experience with it before. We'll look at the climate survey when that will be open and talk about some other issues that have come up. So for the remainder of the year, first of all, our Forward exam window opens on March 23rd and closes on May 1st. March 23rd is the Monday before spring break. So one of the weeks that we have is right before spring break. Now, that may be a crazy week. It is completely up to you, but I would suggest either on Tuesday and Wednesday getting started on testing, just because when you get back from spring break, there will be approximately 4 weeks left of testing window. Keeping in mind that we also have a couple other things going on at nearly the same time. We also have our last coordinator meeting on March 10th. So just before the window opens on the 23rd, we will be meeting again. If you can make that meeting, that will be great. It will be at Flom Road, starting at 3 o'clock that afternoon. One of the things that we have going on is we have an overlap between the MAP assessment, the spring MAP test, and the Forward. It's by 1 week that we have this overlap. So please make sure that you are, when you schedule Forward assessment, you're thinking about that just when we're done, we're going to be testing again. So my suggestion would be to follow a similar order, such as maybe you're going to do third grade first. For the Forward. Well, if you do that, third, fourth, fifth, then do the same order for MAP testing so that you have approximately the same kind of window or non-testing time between the two. It may seem to you like you're testing forever. However, for the students, they will have a block of time for Forward, and then they will have a block of time for MAP. That time should be approximately the same for each of the grade levels. Please note that MAP closes on the 22nd of May. Data from MAP will be available 1 week later, so approximately the 29th, right, just in time to finish up with SLT meetings and SIP review, etc. for the year. Also, at the same time, if you are working with younger children, 4K through second grade, our PALS window is open approximately the same time. So roughly the middle of April through the end of May for PALS. You will notice that we have 3 test windows open that last week in April. I realize that that is a stress on programs, it's a stress on teachers and students and schools. That's the only way that we can get everything taken care of with the assessment time. As far as results are concerned, PALS window closes May 22nd. Teachers have 2 weeks to get all their data inputted into PALS. And then please make sure that we, as a district, are providing parents with PALS data from the year. I cannot print this at the district level. It has to be done at the classroom or the school level. So please, if you have questions about that, let me know. We will certainly touch on that again this coming March 10th meeting. And finally, things that have changed. The date for the climate survey is, you guessed it, in April. So April is going to be a very busy month. April 6th through the 24th will be the climate survey. This is for students. This is the student climate survey. Parents and staff will be, I believe, right after that. Excuse me, if you're middle school, we are going to be coming up with the sleep survey. Excuse me. And if you're high school, you'll have the graduate senior survey coming up as well. Excuse me, I just need to take care of something. All right, let's keep going. So some basics about the forward exam. First of all, computer-based, no pencil paper. It is not adaptive, so that makes it different than MAP. So it will cover the same questions for all students in specific grade level. Maybe out of order, but it will be the same questions. We must use Chromebooks. If you have an issue or concern with that, students with disabilities, please email Sarah Wollner or myself as soon as possible. The software behind this is called eDirect. That's where you will need to log in. If you have not logged in yet, please do so. If you have troubles with logging in, please let me know as soon as possible. This is the same company that does access. So if you're involved in access testing, everything looks the same, two different sites, but it looks the same, has the same sense and feel about it. The test covers English language arts and mathematics for all grades. Additionally, for 4th grade and 8th grade, we have science and social studies that it covers. So eDirect is a website that is where you're going to be spending quite a bit of time. So please take a look at this. It's newly got a new cover on it. So it looks a little bit different. You'll notice that in the kind of in the lower right-hand side, you've got the 1-800 number for help. You certainly are welcome to call that. You can call me or Sarah Wollner if you'd like as well. If you're in the thick of things and something is going wrong, my cell phone number is something that I've given out before, and please don't hesitate to call that. One of the important things to do prior to actual testing is to ensure that all test administrators or proctors have had their professional development. So what does this involve? It involves approximately 38 minutes of a video. There are PDFs of the slides for the PowerPoint available. These are all on our district assessment website, as well as on DPI's website. Our forward website for the district is being revamped and should be up by the 14th of February at the latest. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. One of the things that happens with Proctor Professional Development is at the end, staff should be signing the security agreement. This is essentially saying I will be seeing confidential material. I need to handle and treat that as the same. If there is concern about the fact that number 1 on this list says, I have read and understand this test security manual, that will also be available on our website, so you can share a copy of that with staff. This requires a staff signature and a date. This particular agreement needs to be completed and shared with you as a test coordinator, and you keep these. I would suggest putting them in an envelope, writing the date on it, and filing it away in case there are some questions or concerns over the course of the summer, etc. You have that information available. This is for teacher protection. Let me reemphasize that. When people sign this, they are understanding that there are certain things that they can and cannot do. If they accidentally do this or something happens, we want to know whether or not they've actually followed the process. This protects them to ensure that they are covered and said, yes, in fact, I have done all these things, this pre-test professional development. Now, there is a different one of these confidentiality agreements that I'm going to be sending to you as the school assessment coordinator, and I will ask you to sign that and return it to me. I then hang on to those for a year. Finally, I will be sending one off to DPI saying that I'm vouching for the entire district. So please, when you get this, hang on to it from the teachers, send me the copy for you, from you, and we'll be all good to go. Test times. So on the website, where you found this webinar, you will find a document called forward test times. These are suggested. Remember, forward is an untimed test. So you can see that at the very top, this first table shows how much time is expected for each grade in minutes. You'll notice that 4th and 8th grade have the most. 4th grade and 8th grade have science and social studies. Other grades do not. English language arts is 130 minutes for the test, regardless of which age group you're looking at. Now, this is estimated test time. It does not include getting students into the classroom, logging on with their tickets, reading the directions. This is when they hit start and get to question number 1. This is where it begins, and that's where it's approximately 130 minutes for each of the 4 ELA sessions, which you can see down below that in the table. You have session 1, 2, 3, and 4 that you add up to the total time of 130 minutes. All right, let's take a look at things that are new about the Wisconsin Forward exam. First of all, we don't have anything really new in eDirect. Maybe in a different location. You may have to troubleshoot that just a couple times, but you'll get used to it pretty quickly. Things that continue that we need to bring up and mark as points of concern. I would strongly urge students who have never taken the Forward exam, such as 3rd graders, to look at a practice exam or some sample problems. Fairly easy to figure out, but I don't want any surprises on test day when they don't know how to move to the next question, or the fact that they can go back to questions. Text-to-speech and read aloud. Preferred is text-to-speech. Read aloud requires a specific training. It requires a 1-to-1 ratio between the test taker and the test proctor. And most people, from the conversation I've had, don't have that kind of staffing level available. Keep in mind that the proctors all must be MMSD employees. I would prefer to have teachers involved, and instead of SEAs or EAs, but if that does have to happen, make sure that the educational assistant is under the guidance of a licensed teacher. Finally, we are right now in the midst of getting information back regarding supports for English learners and struggling readers. Keep in mind that struggling readers is a designation that allows for designated support text-to-speech. It should be something that the teachers are providing students in the regular classroom on a regular basis. May not be daily, but it should. In the past, we've had somebody argue that every student is a struggling reader. Well, I would disagree based on grade level, based on abilities, based on what we've seen. So if you have questions, please have a conversation with me, and we'll go from there. Once again, just a reminder about accommodations and supports. There are 3 different levels. Universal tools are always there and present, available for every student. Also, there are 2 different kind of setups for tools. The embedded, which is within the software, which has to be turned on and may or may not show up. The other is non-embedded. That would be an environmental kinds of thing, noise buffers, separate setting, small group, etc. Designated supports do not require an IEP or a 504. They are based on teacher recommendation. These are, again, are things that should be used regularly in the classroom, embedded in the software or non-embedded environmental. And finally, accommodations, specific accommodations do require an IEP or a 504 and provided that they are regularly used in the classroom. So let's take a closer look. First of all, just basically repeating what I've discussed. Information about student IEP accommodations are going to be pulled from OASIS early next week, which should be, I think, the 17th. You will be getting a list of students who have accommodations sent to you either on Monday or early Tuesday of next week. You need that turned around pretty quickly. Do not, please do not go through every single student and every accommodation. We are making an assumption that everything that's in OASIS is correct. What you need to look for are students who are highlighted because they will be the ones who have the following two conditions. Number one, an open IEP. For whatever reason, it's still open, which is fine. Please let us know what supports they need. Number two is if they have a missing, their IEP is completed, but they're missing an I-7, so they have no accommodations for the forward listed. We'll just ask the question, is this correct? So we want to just double check to make sure that we're doing right by students. Due this week, the 14th of February, are supports and accommodations for English learners. Please make sure that you're meeting with the appropriate staff in your building regarding supports for English learners. Struggling readers can have text-to-speech, but again, a reminder, text-to-speech and stack translations just do not mesh at all. So if you have questions or concerns, please let us know. Text-to-speech and English language arts. Most students will get text-to-speech and will for English language arts, and it will be for sessions 1, 2, and 3. You will read directions, read the questions, and read answer choices. What it won't do is read the reading passage in session 4. Session 4 is designed to see what reading comprehension the student has, what level. So it can't read the text to the student. The one exception is a specific accommodation we need to apply to DPI if this is the case. Suppose we have a visually impaired student who is fairly new to Braille and is not proficient in contracted Braille, in which case they will need to listen to what is being said, the passage, and so that will read the passage to them in session 4. Again, very rare, hardly ever used, but it's a possibility. It's there. Again, going back to the test times, please keep in mind that in English language arts, session 1, the text-dependent writing prompt should be the first off the block. DPI would prefer to have that as it gets the kids when they're the freshest, really focused on what it is that they can and can't do. Get it focused on the actual process. Just thinking about something. Let's go and take a look at text dependent analysis in just a second. Otherwise, the 2 sessions can be done in any order. The 3 remaining sessions can be done in any order. So if you want to do session 1 and 3 on one day, 2 and 4 on the next, that's fine. All right, let's go to the next. Text-dependent analysis should be first. Samples are available on our website as well as DPI's website. There's also a scoring rubric in the guides, as you see here, that's available, as well as anchor documents and samples. However, these are rather long documents, and I would suggest maybe 1 per grade level. If you want to do 1 for teachers, that's fine. I know that, for instance, grade 3 is 150 pages. And so, I mean, that's the shortest one is about 95, something like that, pages. So it's pretty intense. Let's go and take a look at some of the resources that you can have. Let's go, we're gonna go out to the website. So let's go to DPI. we'll go to assessment, forward exam, resources, and text-dependent analysis. So here is a text-dependent analysis rubric. I would suggest sharing it with staff. You can show it to students. That's fine. This is not something for test day, however. I am going to back up and show you the writer's checklist. This is available for test day for every student. You must have a clean copy. It cannot be written on by anyone prior to testing. Students can use this as scratch paper. It does need to be collected. You cannot reuse this from one class to the next. So make sure, even if they are going halfway and finishing up the next day, brand new sheet. You cannot have this extend past the session that is currently being tested. Please note, there's the plan section, there's the focus section, and there is the proofreading section. Proofreading is in using I statements. I corrected errors, I included evidence, etc. So it's asking questions. Students can check that off the list. This, again, is available for you to make copies and have on student desks for the text-dependent analysis. I'm working with DPI to see if we can get this written in a way that third graders will find accessible. But at the moment, we go with what we've got. Then we'll also, this, by the way, that will be available on the DPI website as well as our own website. There's also tips for writing a text-dependent analysis document. This may not be used on the exam. You may not have this posted, etc. But these are things you can practice with your students ahead of time. Multiple paragraphs, flow of the writing, examples, and finally higher level thinking skills required. So again, this is a good document to have, to be shared with staff and students, and just to practice with. All right, let's go back to the PowerPoint. All right, so you will also find available practice items. You can actually go in and practice different portions of the assessment, or take a look at online training tools. So the online training tools will allow you to use the highlighter, the masking tool, the line reader, etc. It does work best in Chrome browser, so please make sure you use that. The bottom yellow link that is listed here, it says DRC Insight Online Assessment Tutorials. These are links to different videos that you can share with students or watch yourself. But that's what that is, and should be available to help prep students getting ready for the test. All right, so let me see if I've got everything here. Yep. Sorry. So after March 9th, tickets will be available. We'll have the student supports and accommodations loaded in the system. That is due by the end of February. We get that in the system. So you have an earlier due date. Please watch for that. March 2nd through the 6th, the whole system is closed. We can't touch it. We can't add it or change anything. Beginning on March 9th, it becomes available again, and we're able to print tickets, which we will do. There will be a different color for each of the different exams. I don't believe there's any difference in how the tickets are set up from prior years, meaning there will be multiple tickets to a page. I'm not remembering if it's 4, 6, or 8, but you will have to cut them apart. They are alphabetical by grade, not by homeroom. So it's a long, laborious process, but that's the best that we have right now. All right, let's go forward. Finally, results will come back from the forward exam sometime in July, mid to early July. we'll get those for schools. They then are printed in 4 colors by the vendor, and we get those in late July. Because they are literally 2 pages that are, just to open up and do a sheet, they are too thick to go through the folding process at Printing Services, so we fold them all by hand. Put them in envelopes, and they will be mailed out to families. They'll start receiving them at the end of August. But the data is available earlier than that. So as schools, we should be able to start seeing data sometime around the 1st of July, maybe even in June. Sorry. Okay. Climate survey. Climate survey dates have been changed to April 6th to the 24th. Even though this has a different window on it, you will have something on your library homepage from your school, specifically a link for your students in your school, no other schools. That will be available. These links will be linked to a page that will provide students with 3 choices of languages. They just need to know their MMSD ID number. And finally, the opt-out policy, if you'll recall, opt-outs must be written. They can be an email or handwritten or some other written formal request. It should include what the parents are asking for as far as the opt-out is concerned. We cannot accept verbal requests in any form, even if they're standing right next to you and say, I'd like to opt my child out. Please respond with, it has to be in writing. So let them do that. No phone calls. If you get handwritten copies of a letter, handwritten letters, please make sure that you scan that and send that to myself or Sarah Wallner, as we need to keep track of all of this and share it with the school board at a later date. If you have questions or concerns about the opt-out process or policies, please let me know. So if there are any questions, please contact us, either Sarah Wallner or myself. Here's our contact information. And I appreciate the fact that you taking the time to listen to this. If you have, again, questions at any time, please don't hesitate to make sure you connect with either of us. Thank you.